Welcome to the Cardinal Report. I'm Charlie Edward. On today's show, we'll be joined by the men's track and field team. But first, let's recap the week in North Central athletics. The wrestling team is on a successful little run. On January 22nd, NCC took home a win over Wheaton College. Matt Marcotte was the story of that duel. Coming in at 3-12 versus Wheaton's Tim Blickel, Marcotte was on the losing end for most of the match before he stunned the North Central crowd with a pin at the 4:16 mark. The victory put the Cardinals up 18-17 with only 2 matches left, and thanks to a win by forfeit for Dylan Mahler, the Cardinals won the duel 24-23. At the border brawl duels, NCC came home with 2 duel victories, including a monster 51-3 triumph over Oshkosh. Leighton Binion had a pin over Craig Mason, and Matt Marcotte earned another pin as well, and so did Dylan Mahler. And the success carried over onto the basketball court for North Central's women's basketball team. After it was announced that the team had improved to 22nd in the latest D3Hoops.com poll, the red and white proved their worth with a convincing win over Carthage. Perimeter shooting led the way once more as the Cardinals scored 101 points, tying an NCAA Division III record with its 10th 100-point game this season. Anita Sterling's 17 points led NCC in a game it led by at least 30 for most of the second half. Against North Park, though, not quite the same story, but the same result, a 95-90 win over the Vikings. North Park briefly led 85-83 with only 3 minutes to play, but Kimberly Wilson with a, you guessed it, 3-ball, tied the game, and the Cardinals hit some free throws toward the end to take the win. Now, the men didn't have as much luck against North Park as the Cardinals trailed by double digits for the final 22 minutes against the Vikings, but it wasn't for a lack of effort from North Central stars. Charlie Rosenberg was 8 of 14 from the field, scoring 18 points, and Jack Burchett put together quite a game as well, in spite of the loss, posting 15 points and grabbing a career-high 17 rebounds. Now, the loss moved NCC to 14-4 and now 4-3 in the CCIW. Coming up on TCR, we'll welcome in North Central high jump star Femi Oyewole, as well as sprinter Zach Kirby and the head coach of men's track and field at North Central, Frank Gramarosso. Stay with us.
Please have a seat. I'll be honest. Your resume, not what I'm used to.
I know.
Okay, so what would you bring to my company?
What do you need?
I need a hard worker.
Good. I've got 2 part-time jobs and to help my parents pay the bills.
I need problem-solving skills.
I got through high school without a car, a phone, or a computer.
No college degree, though.
Not yet, but life's taught me a lot, and I'm ready for more.
Well, you're not the typical kind of candidate that I hire. But you are exactly what I'm looking for.
Your company could be missing out on the candidates it needs most. Learn how to find, cultivate, and train a great pool of untapped talent at gradsoflife.org.
Back here on TCR and joined now by a man who's been around North Central track and field through 3 decades, head coach Frank Gramarosso. Frank, how you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. And you know, the first thing I want to get to, we'll keep it pretty general here. You know, if you're looking at the roster, who can you expect to see a great deal of strengths moving up and down in terms of depth?
Well, I was surprised this weekend, too, to see all the different events. A home meet, we get to run more people instead of our travel squad trying to figure out who may benefit from going away. So staying at home and being in front of our home crowd and being on our home track, it was just phenomenal. Obviously, after our first place finish in Nationals cross country, we knew our distance squad is going to be tough, and they sure came out and ran, took the first, I think, 12 places in the 5,000, and they just did a fantastic job. But all around, we try to build a well-rounded track and field team. We do have some holes this year, but we do have some strengths. You know, our 4x4 is always going to be strong. You know, our high jump is looking like a real good field. Pole vault's back, you know, really strong again with the sophomores returning, and then of course with a freshman. And our throws, you know, we have some upperclassmen that are doing the job. Middle distance, we got a few guys that are doing it. We like to be a little deeper there, but some of those guys come from cross country, and some of them, you know, are kind of a sprint type half miler. But all around, we're really, you know, fortunate and look really good. But it's still January.
Mm-hmm. Well, you had stiff competition at the Cardinal opener. between the 17th ranked team in Oshkosh, the 4th ranked team in Wisconsin Whitewater. You won 7 events though. Overall, what was your biggest takeaway from the opener?
Well, they are great. The WEAC schools are fantastic, and I don't want to take anything away from our guys, but it is a January term for those schools, I believe. Whitewater just had semester break, and some guys are back, some aren't, and they probably have travel squad limits also, but they had their best foot forward, I think, and when we go up there we might see a little bit different. I know they ran some different guys. Oshkosh is on that January term too. I think he said he gave a couple distance runners a day off to go home. So whether it's the sour grapes for them trying to come up with some excuses, or they're really just like us. It's only January, we got a long way to go, but our guys did a tremendous job.
Yeah, so very early on, and while we have a chance, let's take a closer look at how North Central performed at the opener. We take you now to the weekend's highlights. Head coach Frank Gramarosso, even in his 33rd year with North Central Track and Field, still helping to lay the groundwork for another Cardinal opener. Wisconsin Whitewater in town, the 4th ranked team in the nation, as well as Oshkosh coming in at 17th. The Warhawks would win 4 events on the evening, including the 60-meter hurdle, where Mike Judd edged out Adam Lundquist with a time of 8:26. We start with the 5,000-meter run, picking up where we left off in the fall with cross-country, Travis Morrison, Tim Vasquez, and Ben Dushinsky among the 14 runners slated to go. About 2/3 through the race, Morrison starts to pull away. On the last lap, Dushinsky makes a push into second. Vasquez, Hoffman, and Kelleher finish just behind, placing 2nd through 5th respectively. And your winner, Travis Morrison, comes out on top with a time of 14:26.7. And then to the field, a pole vaulting competition headlined by Luke Winder, last year's IHSA state champion at Plainfield Central, now a freshman phenom at North Central. His first height comes in at 5.06 meters, a quick word with Tim Winder, his father and pole vaulting coach, before going back out and finishing at 17 feet. The monster win for Luke Winder. So NCC went into the final event of the night, the 4x400 meter relay, with a huge lead. Here, one of 3 returning All-Americans on last year's 4x4 team, Mustafa Olaoye, and Zach Kirby finishes the night, holding off Oshkosh's Reed Zanoya. The NCC runners together earn the top spot with a time of just under 3:21.89, barely edging out Oshkosh at 3:22.02. The Cardinals, as a team, finished first overall, scoring 189 points. All right, well, what I want to know now is, are there any guys who haven't been to Nationals last year who have a chance to maybe crash the party this year?
I think, in some areas we'll have to see. We have a freshman 400 runner, and Spock 2, I call him, because his older brother's Spock 1. And then we have a freshman high jumper who, is coming along really well. And in the pole vault, Spencer and Nick Foley, 2 sophomores, are improving. And of course, we have freshman Luke Winder is going to, should make the national group without a qualifying standard. Every week there's a new standard. It's the top 14, I believe, or 15 this year get in. So week by week we have to see where we're ranked. But obviously we do have some, athletes that are expected to be at the national championships.
Well, one that might be there, Travis Morrison. He breaks the track record in the 5K. What has he been doing with his free time that's made him so effective? We know towards the end of the cross-country season he was on his game.
Yes, Travis really came into his own. For a guy who's had a lot of injuries in distance running, in cross country. He is a national level guy in track. He's been there, but he's never reached the podium. And cross country this year was a huge step. But our distance coaches, Coach Carius and Coach Wheaton, they take special care with him. And Travis knows what has to be done. He doesn't always do the exact same workouts as some of the other distance runners, but he knows how to read his body and fine tune his training. And it worked in cross country with his All-American finish, and obviously it's working right now in the 5K, and I believe in 2 weeks he'll run the 3K and try to qualify in that like he did last year at the national meet.
Well, you've been around the program for 33 years. I just want to know, after all this time, what's your favorite event? Which is the one that still, after all this time, really gets you going?
Well, all the events. I've had my hand in almost all of them at North Central College. At one time, I was the pole vault coach, and I felt, responsible for helping two vaulters go 17 feet, and certainly Coach Winder is, head and heels way over, my knowledge in the pole vault, but I believe I help those guys. Certainly being with the sprint group outside of cross country, the 4x4, everybody loves that last 4x4 event, but I'm a fan of all the events, and I try to make sure every event gets covered. And there are years I helped the throwers in the fall when we didn't have a throwing coach in the fall, and certainly middle distance guys from the sprint group. So it's track and field. I love it all. I coached the hurdles at one time, so every event is a fan for me.
I'll tell you what my favorite event is, the 4x400. I love saying Daniel Spock Kapanakia. Can you say it again?
No, I can't. That's why I call him Spock too.
Yeah, it's a much easier way to go about doing that. I don't blame you. But successful in the relays. You guys won 2 of them, I believe. How many double runs did you have to train for to go in and have so much success? Yeah,
we have to, it's a tough group. You have some guys who are long type sprinters and others short sprinters, and try to blend the two. And I really train guys as 400-meter runners, and always want to have a relay team in the national meet, but you have to start with the talent, and they have to work hard, and we go from there. You never know when you're going to win a national championship in an event or as a team, and certainly the past still helps build that, just like our cross country history. I think we have a good history in the 4x400.
Well, it's without a doubt plenty of good history, and we'll be back in just a moment with more from North Central's men's track and field coach, Frank Gramarosso.
When you earn your GED diploma, the barriers in your life fall. Take the first step and get free GED information in your area at 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or yourged.org. Earn your GED diploma and begin your brighter future.
Welcome back to TCR, and we're still here with North Central men's track and field coach, Frank Gramarosso, and I kind of want to get into Mustafa Oyewole, another tough name to say.
Yeah.
But in 2012, he helped you win the 4x400 meter relay. Does he have the same supporting talent to do the same thing this year?
Yes, I think we do. I mean, you go out there and you try to do your best. I mean, you can't control what other teams around the country are running, and we had great support with Dan Benton and J.R. Kaba at that time, and so you just never know. Moose has some injury challenges that we have to be very careful with his training, and certainly things worked great last year for that team, and we have everybody back, and even we have Abe, who was on our indoor team but not our outdoor team, because he has another one that you have to be delicate with, and sometimes he runs into some strains and muscle injuries, and we just have to try to work through that and stay as positive as we can. You never know, but certainly Dan Benton was the star of those relay teams, and anytime a guy like that who is on your team, you got some good chances. But we won one when we were DQ'd too, so you never know what's going to happen. Last year they DQ'd a team at the national meet. There's always going to be some bumping and running, and you got to get through that.
Here's a place where you don't have any bumping and running going on. It's a place you have a lot of strength in, the pole vaulting. Luke Winder, only a freshman, but even in his rookie year, has it been easy to kind of feel the presence he brings to the table?
Well, we knew that all along. Last year he made one Division I visit, and then decided that North Central, when your dad's your coach your whole life and you're around your big brothers, it's only natural. But, he looked at other institutions, but certainly the experience his brothers had and the effect his dad has on him, it was a natural fit for him. And I think he's, having a great time. And we expect he expects a lot from himself, probably a little bit too much, but he is, is a blue chipper, and he's certainly proven that in the first 2 meets we were in.
Well, you can't blame him for having such high expectations. And, the scouts projected him to be a Division I athlete, but Luke Winder's goals were family-oriented. And so he chose to follow his family lineage and attend North Central College. The Cardinal opener, we saw a meeting of the past and the immediate future, all under one bar. Here's this week's Cardinal Corner. It only takes one vault to see Luke Winder can clear almost any bar. But the path to reaching such heights wasn't a straight shot like it is on the track.
My dad and I were kind of like the pioneers. Like we were going into uncharted waters, really.
The Winder family, now the cornerstones of North Central College pole vaulting, led by Father Tim, who doubles as the coach, and alumni vaulters Jake and Josh, all paved the path to Luke's choice, his choice to attend the family college.
And I knew that my dad knew me more than any other Division I coach or anything would, and I took visits, and I just knew that North Central was always just going to be for me.
The team acquires an athlete capable of excelling at almost any level. Winder, in his rookie year, has already broken North Central's indoor freshman record with a 16 feet 8.75 inch height.
We've been looking forward to actually this time in our lives for a while.
Jake graduated almost 5 years ago, but that hasn't stopped him from competing for fun at Luke's track meets.
Anybody that has brothers knows that it's fun to compete against your brother.
But still, even after all these years, such competitions are chaperoned by Father Tim.
People always ask me, is there a coach side of him and then a father side? And I always just think that both of them are kind of combined. He's the best dad anyone could ask for, and he's always so supportive of me, but he's also a really, really efficient coach.
All the changes Tim Winder has made to his training style and coaching methods in the long time before Luke's arrival at North Central only figure to make the Prodigy's 4 years on campus that much more prosperous. Coach, in technical terms, what makes Luke different from Jake in terms of just the technical art of pole vaulting?
Well, I had that question for his coach. I asked Tim a few weeks ago, and Tim's comment was the speed that he has. And certainly as he gets older and gets stronger, he'll probably develop that much faster. And he's been around his brothers for such a long time. I think he started way ahead of them, and that's an event where as you mature and you get older and you get stronger and you get faster, but according to his coach, he's got a lot more speed than his brothers do.
Oh, he is shattering expectations, if you ask me. Breaking records left and right. Do you think having his dad as a coach is making a big difference in terms of his comfort level, allowing him to grow a little bit more?
Well, sure it is. I think that's the main reason why his older brother Jake went Division I and realized it wasn't what he expected and came back to be coached by his father.
Well, coming up, you're traveling to Wisconsin. Is there a difference in preparing for a meet at home versus on the road? And you got a long bus ride ahead.
Yeah, we have trying to decide who gets to go, having a travel squad. And as far as Luke will be going to the Indiana relays to compete at a higher level in the pole vault. And we have that commitment to our athletes who are, at that kind of level that will find a better competition for them. But we have to narrow down our travel squad to try to fit on a 55-passenger bus. Some of our distance runners who ran this past weekend probably will not run because you can't run the 5K week after week after week. And that has room for the younger guys to step up. But certainly there are some events that are repetitive that you have to have that experience in competition. The sprinters and some jumpers, you have to keep that going. So our younger guys will be in the vault. Our mature guys will be in the high jump and the sprints, and we're going to take some younger guys in the distance races. However, the mile is the hot race. Coaches talk to one another, and we find out what races are being set up. So this weekend at Whitewater, the mile is going to be the big race. So our 2 milers, Muth and Sabat, they'll be running the mile to try to get a better time to make the national list and stay high on the national list.
Well, you dealt with the pressure of tough competition in Oshkosh and Wisconsin Whitewater pretty well. I thought in the throws, Adam Wiedner, Brian Wilson both did extremely well. What did they do to kind of ease themselves into a tough competition like what we talked about there?
Well, they're leaders in their event. They're upperclassmen. Even though Adam's only a junior, he can graduate this year. And I really think with the cost of education and looking at graduate programs, this may be, Adam's last year, at North Central. So they are taking the taking the leadership role and doing a great job.
Well, Coach, I think you did a great job yourself today. Thanks for your time.
Well, thanks for having me.
Well, coming up, Femi Oyewole and Zach Kirby join us on set. This is TCR.
So they say it's a man's world? Well, I don't see anybody's name on it. While they were out doing their thing, we slowly changed all that. We changed all that. Today, women can do anything men can do. And there's one thing we're even better at.
You're with TCR, and I'm on with a couple of men's track and field stars, high jumper Femi Oyewole and relay runner Zach Kirby. Guys, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll start with you on this question, Zach. Just overall, looking at the Cardinal opener, can you give us kind of an evaluation of how things went for you in the opener?
It went very well. We won 7 out of 16 events, and it was in a wide variety of different events. And in a lot of other areas, we showed a lot of depth, which was always good to see early on in the year. And we look forward to just continuing to build on that throughout the season, indoor and outdoor.
Femi, your thoughts?
I agree with Zach. We did a great job. We always compete, and I believe attitude reflects leadership. So it just shows, the leaders that we have, and Zach, Derek, Adam, Mustafa, we all competed, and it was a good day.
Well, looking now, you've had a chance to kind of scout yourselves. Femi, we'll start with you this time. Where on the roster, what event, if any event, do you think you guys have the best chance of making waves this year?
Probably pole vault, honestly, with Luke Weiner. Also the 4x4, really talented. So.
Zach, what are your thoughts on that?
We always look forward to expanding what we came from last year, and we finished with the fifth place finish last year in the 4x4, and we just want to continue to work on that. And other areas that we look to be great in, there's always our distance in the mile, 3K, 5K, and I think we showed that this weekend, that we have a lot of depth to those areas.
Well, you certainly did that against some very tough competition. After taking on the 4th-ranked team in the nation, Wisconsin Whitewater, and the 17th-ranked team, Oshkosh, at the opener, we spoke to some prominent NCC athletes about how the tough test helped them out of their comfort zones. On this week's What's the Word?
So our purpose going into Whitewater was for the distance guys to get a little rust buster in before the 5. A lot of us ran the 3K, some of us ran the 5, and it paid huge dividends in terms of how we performed tonight. The battle between ourselves and Whitewater, it's always going to be close.
Last week when we went to Grand Valley State, it was definitely a good experience. We bought our travel squad, the main squad so far, and everybody got that experience of going against NAIA schools and Division II schools. It's easy as a D3, as one of the top D3 schools, to get lost in all of it and just think that you're top dog. Last week was definitely humbling and a good way to start the season. Everybody's hungry, and we're definitely going to do our best.
I'm just wondering, what kind of training goes into your own events? Zach, we'll start with you.
Well, it starts off in the fall, and a lot of longer interval days and a lot of longer distances, mile runs, and trying to just build that endurance. And then once you get into the season, you just kind of work through the interval training as well as work on a lot of speed. You focus on your speed work then, and you just build off that, and you continue to just try to get faster by each week.
Femi, I think it's a lot different for you. You don't have to worry about endurance quite as much. What goes into your training?
When it comes to the high jump, it's all about the small things. I would say a lot of speed work, a lot of approach work, I should say, a lot of ball work, plyometrics. Just it's a lot of the small things that really count in the high jump.
You know, your career best in both indoor and outdoor is 6 feet 9 inches. So looking at the stats, it's hard to decide, you know, which would you have a preference for, indoor and outdoor. But now we have you in studio, so I'll ask you, which is your favorite indoor or outdoor?
Wow, good question. Coming in from high school, I only jumped outdoor, so I'd say I'm more used to outdoor, but at the end of the day, I just love to jump, so I'm not going to really pick one, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I just love to compete, I love to jump, so either one's fine with me.
How did qualifying for nationals last year impact your motivation in your training this year?
Well, now it's my last year, I want to give it all I have. I think my biggest motivation is it's Coach Rod's last year coaching, so I want to, I guess, set him off on a high note and do the best I can.
Zach, you're the anchor runner, as they say. Does that add some extra pressure, being the anchor runner? I'd have to imagine it makes it a lot tougher being kind of the fourth guy. It's like being the closing pitcher in a baseball.
Yeah, it comes with a few different aspects of pressure, I would think. What I think the biggest pressure I hold is making sure I don't let my teammates down. Like this week we saw it was a tight race coming in the anchor, and I couldn't have let my teammates, you know, or myself lose that position that they gained for me. So it's always making sure that you do your best for them rather than just doing the best for yourself.
Well, we've talked about it the whole show, the stiff competition in Oshkosh. They were right behind you at the very end. What did it take to kind of hold them off?
A lot of blood, guts, and glory. It just you just kind of have to fight the last 50 meters, no matter how much pain you're in. And you hear the crowd running, and they kind of give you that extra motivation, and you hear them behind you. That's when you just have to go all out.
Is there a way the order of runners is decided? Is that decided well in advance, or is that kind of a last-minute thing?
Parts of it, both. A lot of it goes into who's feeling, how is everyone feeling, but usually our top first runner is someone that can get out of the blocks real fast, and Daniel Spock is very good at that. Our second runner is someone who can maintain and gain ground off that first runner. Derek is great at that, as well as, and then third comes in with Moose, and Moose is always the one guy who will give anything he'll have to give me a lead, and then my job is just to bring it on home then.
Femi, there's the Fosbury flop, the straddle, the western roll, the eastern cutoff. I'm learning about all these different high jump techniques, and watching you, I was kind of trying to figure out which one is yours. Do you have a technique you kind of go to?
The Fosbury flop is what most people use nowadays. I would say everybody. It allows you to jump the highest, and that's all I've ever done. So.
Well, Mustafa Olaoye helped you guys win the 4x400 meter relay back in 2012. Zach, do you guys think you have the same kind of supporting cast of talent to help him get back there this year? And if you do think you do you feel like there's some extra motivation to help him get there again?
I think we do. With that supporting cast he had in 2012, we're a group of great athletes, and we're trying to replicate that this year. And we want to, always win a title, not only for our teammates, but our entire team as itself. And sending out Moose and Derek Nelson, both seniors on our team, out with an individual title and then a team title is our main goal.
All right, guys, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
So now the men's track and field team heads off to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater for the Squid Converse Invitational. And also be sure to check out our doubleheader coverage of NCC men's and women's basketball this Saturday at 5 p.m. on NCTV and NCTV17.com. That's all for today's show, but be sure to join us next week, same time, same place, only NCTV.